Hello everyone. Today we are going to see how to relate and unrelate records in Dynamic 365 using Power Automate. In Dynamic 365 we are having two main relationships. One is one to many and another one is many to many. One to many. In this relationship, the record in the primary entity will be related with many records of the related entity because of the lookup field which is available in the related entity. Many to many relationship. Here, many records of one entity can be related with many records of the related entity. It can be related using subgrid. In both primary entity and then related entity will have subgrid. In this session, we are going to see the related and unrelated actions in Power Automate with real-time example. Let's flip to Power App Studio. This is the model-driven app which we have created for our testing. This is a country entity. So the country entity consists of countries where which we are providing services. So these service centers. So these are the service centers which are available in the particular country. Say for Australia, these are the two service centers where which we are providing services. So this is the address. Okay. Now this is the service request. Now we are going to create a service request. Let's say the user calls a service executive and then asks for a request. Then service executive will fill these basic details and then they can assist the customer. Now the name of the request is noted and then contact number and then email ID and everything is filled out and then mapping the service location where that service is required. Now the service centers subgrid is available on the right hand side. In our scenario, as these service centers are related with that service location, it should automatically bring all the service centers available for that selected country. For Australia, it should provide all the service centers available in the selected country. Let's say if I select Singapore, it should give all the service centers available in the Singapore region. This is what we are going to do in our real-time example. Now I am creating a cloud flow to automate our requirement. Now the cloud flow is created. So these are the steps we need to follow to meet our requirement. So the first thing will be the trigger. So first we need to write a trigger to trigger for the cloud flow. Then we need to list all the service centers related to the service request. And then we need to unrelate that if any is already available. Then we need to list the service centers related to the location selected and then we need to map with our service request. Okay. Now I am going to rename the cloud flow to further best practice. Then we need to add the filter. Trigger. Yes, it is done. Now our connector will be the dataverse. Then we need to select appropriate trigger. Now I am selecting add or modify. Now it is creating the connection reference. Yeah, now it is done. So it is asking for the trigger. I am selecting added or modify. Then it is asking for entity name. Your service request will be our entity. Then I am selecting the type of this and then we are select. Now our flow should get triggered when service location is changed. So that we need to provide the logical name of the service location field. So the service request service location logical name will be this. So we need to put in that particular field. So it's done. So this flow will get triggered only when this field is changed. renaming that trigger to the appropriate name. Yes. Now the trigger is added. Then we need to list all the service centers which are related to our service request. So now I am adding a new step, and then I am selecting the action step, list rows. List rows. So we need to renaming that. We need to select the entities. As we are going to select all the service centers related with our service request, we need to select service centers here. Then we are going to use fetch XML query to pull all the related records. So I am going to that advanced spine. Then I am selecting that service center as a base entity. Then I am putting that condition, that service request where for that particular service request. As we need only one column, I am removing extra columns. As of now, there is no service centers available for this service request, so it is giving blank. Now I am downloading that fetch XML query. Once it is downloaded, we will make use of that fetch XML query. The thing is, this fetch XML query is selected with that for the particular service request. So we need to make it dynamic. Yeah, this is the fetch XML query which we have downloaded. I am copying and then pasting it into our fetch XML query. Yeah, this is where we need to put. I have put that here. We can see the GUID of the GUID and the name of the selected service request when we are downloading that fetch XML. We need to make it dynamic. So I am removing that, and then I can select the service request from the previous action step. So that service request GUID unique identifier will be available in that dynamic expression. So I am making use of that. Then this list row will filter down all the service centers available under the service request. Now the flow is saved. Now we need to unrelate the related service centers. For that, we need to loop all the service centers which we have found in the previous step. For that, we need to use apply to each action step. I am renaming it to that appropriate name for better understanding. Now we need to pass the value of the previous list output. So now the value is selected. As we are going to unrelate rows, we need to use unrelate action step. So unrelate action step is added, and then I am renaming it to that appropriate name. As we are going to unrelate these service centers from the service request, we need to select service request as the entity name here. Then we need to provide that ID of that service request, so which will be available from our trigger itself. So I am selecting the service request unique identifier from that trigger. Now it is selected, and then it is asking for that relationship name. As we are looking for the relationship between the service center and the service request, we are selecting this relationship name, and then we need to provide that URL of that OData, URL in that OData format to represent that service center. So I am going to prepare the URL. So this is the base URL of our application. Then it is expecting some format, API slash data slash version 9.1 slash entity name. Here that service center will be our entity name, and that service center name should be the plural form. So this is the service center name. We need to provide the logical name with plural form of that GUID. The GUID will be given dynamically based on the loop. As we are looping that service centers, we will get from that loop itself. It is added now. Now I am saving the record. Now the flow is saved. Now we are going to filter the service centers which are available for that service location, so that we are going to use list rows action step. The list row action step is added, and then I am renaming it. Service centers. We need to select all the service centers which are related to that service location. Now we are going to prepare the fetch XML. So these are the service centers available for that particular country. Now I am downloading the fetch XML, which is similar to the previous step which we have done to make use of that fetch XML. Now we have downloaded, and then we are going to paste into our section. Now it is done. We are going to edit that name of that pre-selected country, and then I am making that GUID as dynamic. Service location, which is available from the trigger. We are going to use the service location variable. It will list all the service centers available under that selected service location. Next, our requirement is to relate all the service centers with that service request. Now I am saving that. Yeah. Now as we are going to relate all the service centers, we need to iterate with the service centers. So we are using apply to each action step, renaming it to that appropriate name, and then we will add value as the iteration value of the previous step. Then we need to use relate rows action step to relate the record with that service request. These action step parameters will be similar to that unrelate rows action step. So I am renaming it now. that name will be that service request only. As we are going to relate with the service request, then we need to choose service request, and then it expects that row ID. It will be the service request ID. It will be taken from the trigger itself. Then we need to provide that relationship name, that service request versus service centers relationship name. Then we need to provide the URL in that OData format to represent that service center record. As we are looping with the service centers, we will get that record ID from the loop value. I am selecting that. Now everything is done. We are saving the record, saving the flow. Yeah, it is saved now. Now it's a time to test our development. We are moving back to model driven app. Now I am going to change that service location to India. So previously there are 2 service centers available for Australia. Now I am saving that. It's still showing that Australia. It will take some time for making that flow trigger. For India, there should be a 3 service centers related to our service request. Now I'm refreshing that. It's in progress now. Yeah, now the 3 service centers are related with our service request properly now. Yes. Now we will move back to our flow, and then we will check how it works in our system. As soon as we change the service request field, that flow will get triggered automatically. So for this ID only, the flow should get triggered. So in the trigger itself, we can see the GUID of the service request. This is the name of the service request, and then we are listing down all the service centers related with our service request. In our scenario previously, it was related with 2 service centers in the Australia region. So it is listed down now, and then we need to unrelate it, so that we are looping it and then unrelating those 2 service centers from our service request. And then we need to list all the service centers available for the particular region India. So using this fetch.xml, we have retrieved all the 3 service centers available in that India region. Yeah, it is drilled down now. Now we are going to relate this record with our service request using that relate rows action step. Based on this, 3 records are related with our system service request.